Now, what pops into your head when you hear about the city of Dallas, Texas? Is it the sea of shiny buildings and cars? Is it a group of cowboys with 10-gallon bucket hats? Or maybe it's the people passing out in the 115-degree heat? Whatever it is, I'm here to tell you, unless you live here, that image is probably wrong. There's countless misconceptions about Dallas out here, guys, and many of them couldn't be further from the truth. The good news is that I'm here to set the record straight, and we'll explore some common myths about the Lone Star State's best city and finally separate the facts from the fiction. Now, in my line of work, I talk to families every day about relocating to Dallas, right? But I'm always amazed at the crazy ideas and misconceptions that a lot of them have about our city, right? And I get it. Every part of the country has its own stereotypes, Texas especially, right? But beyond the surface level assumptions about the cost of living, the weather, the crime rates, and the cowboy hats, you'll find a thriving city with tons of great things to offer. So whether you're drawn to Texas for the economy, the culture, or the sports teams, it's really worth understanding what life in Dallas is really like by exposing all the major myths one by one. Now, our most recent client, the Hearns family, they reached out to us about 3 months ago, right? They were moving from DC and they were sick and tired of the cold winters and they wanted just a fresh start in a new place. But before they chose Dallas, they were looking at other popular areas like Atlanta, Miami, and Los Angeles, right? And then they happened to stumble upon one of our videos and gave Dallas a look. Now, while they were doing their research, it became pretty evident pretty quickly that Dallas would be great for the weather, but what they didn't realize is just how much more affordable it would be, living in Dallas versus Georgetown, where they were coming from. But here's the thing, right? At the same time, another misconception I see people make all the time is how affordable IG realtors, TikTokers, and those YouTube shorters, they really make Dallas seem. And this is why you want to reach out to us, guys. We know the areas, we know where to find you the homes that match your budget and can help you make the best decision for you and your family. And hey, we'd love to be of service to you guys. So if you're thinking about making a move, feel free, reach out. All of our contact info is down in the description below and pinned to the top of the chat. So circling back, this is really where the disconnect really starts to seep in. You see, yes, Dallas is cheaper than most larger metros overall, right? But in our most desirable areas, places like Plano, places like Frisco, places like Prosper, Salina, Flower Mound, even South Lake, it's not that much cheaper. A lot of people move down here and they want to move to the best area in the city, and you can't expect those prices to be the same as the new construction homes that you see on Instagram. That's really how they get you. You got to realize marketing and attention are important in our day and age. And what I found is a lot of people take those 30-second highlights and extrapolate that onto the entire market. And I'm sorry, guys, that's just not how it works. So let Big Brother Branson break it all down for you to the brass tacks. So yes, Dallas is more affordable, but it's more affordable in the areas that are more affordable. You aren't making Frisco, Plano, Salina, McKinney, and Prosper any more affordable just because you want it to be. This is where the size of your home takes a hit for the price. I typically have to break this down for my clients in these areas. You're only going to get 2 out of the 3 things when it comes to the size, the price, and the location. If you want the location and the size, the price is probably going to be higher. If you want the price and the size, the location isn't necessarily going to be in your favorite area. And if you want the price and location, the size isn't going to be where you're probably wanting it. Now look, guys, you can't kick and scream about things like this because the market doesn't really give a flying flute. It is what it is, and I can't change that. Listen, our affordable areas are suburbs that are being highly developed with good schools, new restaurants and shops, and with all the amenities and parks right inside your neighborhood. The catch is, after you move in, most of that's going to be being built around you. But if you want to be where everything is already done, you got to pay for that. Look, Dallas is home to high-profile residents like Mark Cuban, Alice Walton, and other big-time billionaires. But despite the high concentration of wealth, most of the city's residents are solidly middle class. And when it comes to Dallas as a whole and in these new areas that are more affordable, Dallas remains at the top of the affordability in other major U.S. cities. The median home price in Dallas is around $432K right now, which is slightly below the national average of about $442. And then on top of that, Texas doesn't have a state income tax, which means big savings and more buying power for its residents. According to payscale.com, Dallas's cost of living is just 2% higher than the national average, which is pretty much unheard of for a big city, right? And then to put that into perspective, if you want to move here from New York City, you'd see your cost of living drop by like 55% and your housing costs dip below 80%. But then there's the job market, right? I've done entire videos talking about how amazing the economy is here, but to sum it up, the Metroplex is home to some major corporations, including AT&T, American Airlines, and ExxonMobil, right? But there's also plenty of up-and-coming companies, particularly in the tech world. But let's put a pin on that because when it comes to this next myth, guys, I've seen it destroy someone's perception completely before they even had the opportunity to give Dallas a chance. And as we all know, you can make any perception true if you want it bad enough. Now, this past week, I had some clients in town from Canada who were looking for, a new home as the husband was starting a new job in our financial sector. Now, we had been planning for months for their arrival, right? It was him, his wife, and their newborn baby girl. But after it arrived, we really started running into a bit of a problem. Now, I'm from Mississippi. I'm a country boy through and through, but I have lived in different metros, Denver being one of them. But the issue we were running into was Dallas was getting hit with our freakish winter storms, right? The ones that come for a week and then leave for a week or two, and then come back to say howdy for another week, and then it's spring. So on the news, they were screaming about 12 to 18 inches of snow, freeze warnings, all of the above. Now for me, I know better. We've only had one real snowstorm since I've been here, and the only thing that made it bad was Dallas was just ill-equipped to deal with it at that time. Now my clients being from Canada, they're used to snow, so it really wasn't a big deal to them. But the problem came when I was scheduling multiple showings, the people were canceling due to the inclement weather. And that's gonna lead us right into myth number 2. Now, when people think of Dallas, they think of how hot it is, right? And that's absolutely true. We're a southern state, and that gives us what's known as humid subtropical climates. The temperatures are often exceeding 100 degrees for weeks at a time, but here's the thing. The winters are incredibly mild, with our coldest months being January and February. And outside of the random ice and snowstorms, that really doesn't even last that long. We're still averaging temps around 47 degrees in the winters. Now, being a Texan, we have become experts at beating the heat with air conditioning, water parks, and shaded outdoor spaces sprinkled throughout the city. And there's no doubt you've probably seen the news stories of these random ice and snowstorms, but I'm here to tell you guys, it's really only happens during 1 month in the winter. And on top of that, we're so far inland that we don't have to really deal with hurricanes. The only real weather-related issues here is tornadoes and hail, and those are really far and few in between. But the good news is we're very well prepared for that with all the advanced warning systems and safety protocols. You'll see it on the news beforehand, and we have a few different IG pages that will keep you informed as well. But as we switch gears, the next myth I tend to see a lot is really just a flat out lie, especially when people compare Dallas to Houston and beyond. For some reason, this argument continually comes into play, so much so I have to set the record straight and give you the real deal Holyfield. Now, when I first moved from Mississippi 10 years ago, I was really wanting a change, right? In my small town, we have a Walmart, some local chain restaurants, a bowling alley, a pool hall, and that's about it. The major events in my hometown usually revolve around the high school or the university, because we live in a college town, so ball games are a real big reason for folks to get together. But outside of that, there really isn't anything to do. Like, the whole town starts shutting down around 9 p.m. So for me, I really wanted a place where I had more opportunity to meet new people and expand myself, my career, and my net worth. So my first 3 years in Dallas were purely exploration, right? I was out and about, guys. I hit the bars, I hit the networking events, I hit the social clubs and the meetups. But the one thing I could never, ever say was there was nothing to do. Listen, I dropped the Houston versus Dallas video not too long ago, and one of the things I kept seeing in the comments was there was nothing to do in Dallas. And that just kind of had me baffled. To me, what it really says is you're spoiled and you actually don't know what nothing to do looks like. I played football at East Mississippi Community College. You've probably seen the school on Last Chance U on Netflix, but I played before all the glitz and glams and the championships, right? And this town literally has 2 gas stations and a stoplight. Like, all you had to do there was smoke and drink. It was sad. So when people say there's nothing to do in these major cities, it really just tells me you're spoiled and you don't know what you're talking about. Listen, Dallas has a reputation for being sort of a concrete jungle, especially in the downtown section. And it's true, there's plenty of pavement and skyscrapers, but that doesn't mean there's nothing to do. In fact, our city is home to some of our country's most beautiful parks and jogging trails, including the Katy Trail, which takes you through our scenic uptown area all the way to the American Airlines Center in downtown Victory Park. If you're looking to have a little bit more fun, you can check out some of our big attractions like Six Flags, Legoland, and the Dallas Zoo. There's also the Dallas Arts District, which is the largest urban arts district in the US. And we have too many bars and restaurants to count, which if you tried, it would take you a good 10 years to eat and see them all. We have Deep Ellum, which is one of our walkable bar districts, equipped with live music, sports bars, and clubs for all my socialites. We even have the rooftop venues with some of the most breathtaking views of the skyline. We have all the major sports teams, college teams, and even our high schools are nationally televised. Different cultural festivals throughout the year and a myriad of concerts, conventions, and comedy shows sprinkled in so many different areas. Guys, we even have an opera house. Like, what do you really mean when you say Dallas is boring? Because me, myself, I just don't see it that way. But let's switch gears on that and switch to a subject that a lot of my northern clients, they tend to ask about, right? So much so that I took the time to poll people on my Instagram to see if there was any merit.
So I'm super excited to announce we just released our Reload Ready bundle. This is a bundle that gives you our knowledge of the Metroplex, the best areas, best food spots, best schools, and overall what to expect. And lastly, we're gonna give you access to our preferred property list. This is when builders have inventory that they need to move. They call and give us first dibs. These are gonna be those discounted properties you won't find on Realtor or Zillow.com. So if you want exclusive access, click the link below, become a part of our inner circle where we say less and pay less. Now, back to the video you were watching.
Now, my first week in Texas back in 2015, I was settling in, trying to get my bearings, but I knew I had to get out and explore if I was ever going to be able to just call this place home. You see, for me, I'm pretty good with directions and learning new areas and getting the lay of the land. You know, as I told you, I'm from the country, so country things don't really bother me that much. So on a particular night, I met up with some buddies of mine from work, and for some reason, they really wanted me to experience the state fair. But for me, I'm just not a fair type of guy, right? It's just not my thing. But when we pulled up, my expectation and the reality were two different things. Where I'm from, the state fair is hay bale rides, corn dogs, and merry-go-rounds. I mean, it's Texas, right? What's more Texan than cowboy boots, hats, and chewing tobacco? But what I soon realized is that ain't necessarily Dallas. I mean, the State Fair had General Motors exhibits with their newest Corvettes, Chargers, and SUVs on display. There was a gaming section, all type of fried food and eats from fried jambalaya to fried greens. They had brewery stations with different lagers to Texas brewed beers. And they had the massive Ferris wheel and the Space Needle right in the middle of the park. They even had live concerts while we were there. Now me, I was expecting a bunch of country cowboys with big buckles, hoedowns, and cattle drives. And although you will see that from time to time, it's actually the minority. You see, Dallas is a very progressive city, right? I'd say most of the people I saw there were wearing Jordan 1s or Panda Dunks. Everybody had leisure wear on or some sort of athletic gear. It was really nothing like what I expected. And that really brings me into the next common misconception, guys. Dallas really isn't that country. It isn't Cowboy City or something you'd see straight out of Yellowstone on Paramount Plus. There were so many different types of people represented, and so many people at the fair were just really tourists enjoying the experience. Look, I know Texas is famous for its cowboy culture, but Dallas is as metropolitan as any other area or any other city in the US. You'll see a lot more AirPods than cowboy hats around here. We're also recognized globally as one of the top business hubs. On top of that, we have a thriving art scene, high-end dining, and cutting-edge industries. Now, if all that being said, if you're looking to plop on a 10-gallon hat and walk around town, nobody's gonna look at you sideways. I mean, we're proud of our Texas roots here. We've just combined them with a more cosmopolitan outlook to create a culture that really is our own. But as the old saying goes, don't California my Texas. All right, so back in my playing days, right, I was headed to the stadium as we were about to play the Packers for the NFC Championship. Now, I used to live in Duluth, Georgia, so coming down 85, passing 285 and into downtown can be a nightmare on Elm Street. Look, you can literally shoot a podcast in your car with how long you're gonna be sitting in one place because of the traffic. Like, Atlanta traffic is retarded. Now, outside of rush hour, it would take me about 30 minutes to get to the stadium, as it's only about 25 miles away. But if you're going during rush hour, if there's some type of accident, you can just hang it up, guys. Now me, I'm pretty responsible, right? I give myself a buffer of time just in case anything happens. You know, we had to report to the stadium at 11 a.m. for a 3:30 kickoff time, so I left the house around 9:45, right? You know, it was smooth sailing until I hit North Druid Hills, and on this day, it was just pure madness. Look, there was a multiple car pileup, all the side roads were backed up, and the police weren't letting anyone through. There was just no escaping it, guys. And I ended up about 25 minutes late, and in NFL terms, that's about $5,000. And look, I say all that to say this. I've experienced traffic in a lot of different cities, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and Houston for that matter. And in those places, it's really unbearable and unavoidable. Look, it's bumper to bumper standstill for hours at a time. And look, yes, Dallas's traffic can be challenging at times, right? But it's rarely as bad as what you might hear. In fact, if you're from those other areas we just spoke about and you move here, you'll probably find out traffic is a nice reprieve. Listen, public transportation here isn't really an option for most people, but I really hate hearing folks talk about the traffic like it's just the worst ever. Because that really just goes back to that perspective we talked about earlier of what worse actually is. You know, our public transportation kind of extends to a couple different suburbs like Plano and Richardson, and which make it a little easier to navigate. With that being said, cars remain the most common mode of transportation, especially given the size of the Metroplex. Just know if you plan ahead, you can minimize the time that you spend in traffic and enjoy more of what Dallas has to offer. Now, another myth I hear all the time, for whatever reason, is people have this ideal in their minds that people in Dallas look a certain way. But the truth of the matter is, Dallas is one of the most diverse cities in the entire US, and the facts don't lie. In 2024, Dallas was ranked number 5 on the most diverse cities list. It's nearly 42% of its residents are Hispanic. I think 24% are Black or African American. And then additionally, 24% of its population is foreign born. You know, we have so many people from different backgrounds, different beliefs, and different cultures, which really makes Dallas American. I mean, most of the people you're gonna meet here are gonna tell you that they're not from Dallas. You know, we welcome everybody unless you're one of the ones in my comment section down below telling you to move away, go home, we don't want you around. Selfish, just selfish. But But look, it really doesn't matter because people are coming in droves. And for me, it just makes Dallas better, right? You know, we really believe in our ideals, and it's really what makes the Lone Star State so appealing to everybody else. Now, while misconceptions do persist, right, the reality in Dallas is far more nuanced than you really expect. So whether you're considering a move or just curious, you know, we've created the greatest videos about moving to Texas, and you guys can check those out right there.